Sorry, sorry.
Okay, Honorable Mr. Udi as our lecturer in academic speaking. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
First of all, let me introduce our group. My name is Putri Bahjah Salsabila as moderator, and my friend Haidar baghiz Putrantion as the first speaker, Mayumi Omita Indahsari as the second speaker, Dimas Awaludin Gozali as the third speaker, and Revi Oktaviani Mariska as the fourth speaker. Now, today we are going to talking about public speaking strategies for EFL learners. For the first speaker, the time is yours.
Thank you, Putri. And in the last few decades, there has been a considerable body of studies highlighting the potential role of learning strategies, most of which confirm that the use of learning strategies greatly brings positive effect on the student's mastery of English. Thus, Brown in 2007 points out that success in second or foreign language learning will be due to a large extent to learners' own personal investment of time, effort, and attention to the second language in the form of an individualized battery of strategies for comprehending and producing the language. And as Ismail in 2000 mentions that language learners are continuously looking for ways of applying strategies to deal with situations in which they face new input and tasks proposed by their instructor. And language learning strategies as one of the important criteria in language learning. In recent years, the focus of studies has shifted to a narrower scope is on the strategies in developing a specific language skill such as speaking, writing, reading, and listening. In the area of speaking skills, some studies use theories of learning strategies as their theoretical base, and they use Oxford's SILL as the key instrument. Being speak Being able to speak in English well has been driving many EFL learners around the world to pursue English language learning either at formal or non-formal in language learning institutions. In recent decades, EFL learners are not only expected to speak well in English, but also to perform public speaking activities in English successfully. Interpersonal skills such as public speaking are essential assets for a large variety of professions, and in everyday life. The ability to communicate in social and public environments can greatly influence a person's career development, help build a relationship, resolve conflict, or even gain the upper hand in negotiations. Nonverbal communications express the behaviors such as gestures, facial expressions, and prosody. It is the key aspect of successful public speaking and interpersonal communication. This was shown in many domains, including healthcare, education, and negotiation, where nonverbal communication was shown to be predictive of patient and user satisfaction. Negotiation performance and proficiency in public speaking. However, public speaking with good nonverbal communication is not a skill that is innate to everyone, but can be mastered through extensive training. In addition, even mild forms of public speaking anxiety can hinder one's ability to speak in public. Frequent exposure to presentation scenarios can help control public speaking anxiety. Public speaking becomes one of the most challenging courses for everyone. To be successful, they need to possess a number of skills such as good language production, like pronunciation, voice fluency, grammar, and articulation. An ability to speak in front of an audience, good confidence and interaction with the audience, body language and movement, content mastery, organization and delivery, and of course the perfect time management. In addition, they need to develop intercultural competence. Okay, here is some studies that have discussed about speaking strategies of EFL students. First one is from Kabayasa and Beityong in 2010. They say that demonstrated that Filipino students prefer metacognitive, social or affective, and compensation strategies in speaking class. Meanwhile, achievement in schools, attitude toward speaking English, task at hand, topics of discourse, and teachers' techniques are considered to be influential factors strategy choice. Next is from Umama in 2008 and Novitasari in 2009. They found students with higher speaking proficiency use social strategies more frequently than students with lower speaking proficiency. And the third is from Wahyuni in 2013. He reported that the correlation between overall speaking strategy use and speaking proficiency is not significant, though positive. However, the effect of gender on strategy preference is found significant on effective strategies. The next is from Nakatani in 2006. He studied the relationship between English proficiency and the use of communication strategies among EFL learners in Japan and found that learners with higher proficiency reported more use of social affective, fluency maintaining, and negotiations for meaning strategies than did learners with middle and lower proficiency level. The next is from Dewi in 2007. She said is in she is investigated the strategies deployed by Indonesian senior high school students in overcoming speaking problems. The study revealed that high achievers prefer to use strategies of approximation, getting help, and switching to the mother tongue. Meanwhile, moderate achievers were reported to employ approximation and use synonym. Interestingly, no strategy was used by low achiever. The next is assumption in 2010. Moreover, reported that among college students in Philippines, switching to the mother tongue was proven to be the most frequently used strategy and that there was a negative correlation between the use of compensatory strategies, mostly in the forms of switching to mother tongue and avoiding topic communication and grade in English. The next is from Khan in 2010, who used picture story, art description, and information gap task to determine the strategies profile of high and low proficiency EFL learners in Spain. The study found that the use of spoken production strategies can be predicted more from task characteristics than from the proficiency of the learners, and the use of oral communication strategies in the EFL classroom is low. The last is from Lopez in 2011, who examined the speaking strategies used by English students in Mexico. The result is indicated that to compensate problems in speaking English, the students frequently ask for repetition, use paraphrase or synonyms, and ask for clarification.
Okay, the next is speaking strategies. An important component of language learning strategy training is that of speaking strategies. Oral strategies are referred to in the literature as communicative strategies. Communication strategies, conversation skills, or oral communication strategies. Speaking strategies are the devices used by students to solve any communication problem when speaking in English. One goal of language learning is the foreign language in different oral exchange, ultimately the competence. Speaking strategies are essential since they provide foreign language learners with a valuable tools to communicate in target language in diverse situations. However, there is disagreement as to whether or not to teach speaking strategies. The teaching of speaking strategies could complement speaking a foreign language and ELT training. The next is some studies that say speaking strategies is important. Some studies that say speaking strategies is important. The first is O'Malley and Shamat in 1990. Speaking strategies are crucial because they help foreign language learners in negotiating meaning where either linguistic structures or sociolinguistic rules are not shared between a second language learners and the speakers of the target language. The next is page in 2000. A competent speaker knows how to make use of speaking strategies. Next is Nakatani in 2005 showed that students who were taught speaking strategies made a significant improvement in their oral tests. The last, McFord in 2007, students should be taught speaking strategies so that they may be able to communicate realistically when interacting in English. The next, three, study, three studies on speaking strategies. First is it's in 208 in a UK university during a 10-week pre-semester program of English for academic purposes, which prepares students for the speaking test of the International English Language Testing System, or IELTS. This preparation consisted of three aspects. The first is developing students' confidence with an emphasis on reducing exam anxiety and on overing exam practice. The second is providing students with the IELTS regulation so as to better inform the student as to what the speaking test was about. Third is making students aware of the marking of the IELTS exam criteria and helping them to adjust their speaking performance to match these criteria. In this course, 30, 35 students participated. However, only 13 took the IELTS exam because the other 22 had already entered their respective university departments. The results show that the training of these students in strategic performing aided them in passing the test with the required scores for university entrance. Although the sample was small, the preparations of students and the use of strategies made them better prepared to tackle tasks in foreign language learning. According to Essays in 208, encouraging students to use a variety of perspectives may also help motivate them to study independently and to consider different theoretical positions. This aspect of learner training is important because one of the desired goals of education is to help learners to think critically so that they are in charge of their learning process. Learner training allows students to transfer these strategies to other aspects of the learning process. Second is Markford in 207, who interviewed HD4 EFL or English as a foreign language users in Mexico in order to identify impolite interactional situation experienced by Mexican students and teachers. Markford in 2007 argues that rudeness in part in a part of everyday language usage and should be included in language classes in order to prepare learners to interact in impolite situations. Due to the result of the study, McCord argues for the inclusion of activities to prepare students to deal with the type of communication exchange. Although he does not specifically refer to these practices as speaking strategies, he does advocate strategies training as a tool to better prepare learners for real life speaking exchange. The third is Gallagher Brad in 2007, who applied a questionnaire to elicit information concerning learners' belief about speaking a foreign language. The students surveyed were in their final year at a secondary school in Southeast England. The questionnaire consists of statements with a rating scale from 1 to 5. 1 is strongly disagree and 5 is strongly agree. Students had to identify to what extent they agree or disagree with the statements. Students were also asked to answer open-ended questions in order to find out the strategies used while speaking in the foreign language. According to Gallagher Brad in 2007, the three strategies used most by students were practicing, revising, and repetitions at home after revisions. Although the results were from a very small number of participants, they revealed that the participants use strategies when speaking a foreign language. An interesting feature of the finding was the acknowledgement by students of failures due to individual factors related to their actions, efforts, and feelings. This refers to participants' awareness of themselves as learners and of their responsibility for their own learning actions and outcomes.
Okay, so on a particular issue of interest and importance to your audience. In other words, the major task of public speaker is to hold his audience interest and attention on a given topic for a period of time. Unfortunately, a brilliant person may fail in speech presentation even with his brilliant press. In public speaking, the speech serves as the pivot of the basic things. The speaker, the subject under discussion, and the audience whom the speech is meant for. It is worthy of note to say that speech delivery is by no means of a difficult task if the this entire understanding their needs, interests, attitudes, and background of the audience. Then, always remember to talk naturally and with some conviction. In order to deliver a speech perfectly well, there are a few strategies that will definitely make your presentation less difficult. This, okay, these strategies are rehearse alone. With your speech fully prepared, there is need to rehearse alone. Practice alone, probably behind locked doors and possibly before a full-length mirror. This will help to disclose some mannerism which you may need to eliminate. Always swing your gaze from left to the center and to the right rather than gazing at the ceiling or the floor. Imagine your audience to be before you. Second is practice before friends. After practicing alone, there is need to practice with the friends who will help you to correct some mannerism which you may need to eliminate. As you practice with the friends, try and watch your tempo in order not to be unnecessarily too fast or too slow. Your friends can help in timing you. Next is record your speech. There may also be need to record and play the speech you intend to present to your audience. This will help you to make final correction in your speech delivery. However, the above-mentioned steps may not to be too necessary for someone who is not a beginner in speech delivery. The next is consider your dressing. Your dressing on the day you present your speech can make or may use speech. Your clothes may not be necessarily expensive or new, they just need to be clean and well ironed. Acknowledge your introduction is the next step of in public speaking. When you are called to deliver a speech, there is need to recognize your importance of audience. You may bow slightly to the members of the high table, if any, and to audience. There is more than courtesy involved here. When you do not acknowledge your introduction, it makes the audience feel that you are arrogant, and when this happens, you are in for trouble with your audience. The next is manage your anxiety. Once you are called upon to deliver a speech, there is the tendency that you will experience some anxiety in you. The ability to manage this anxiety is to paramount importance to a public speaker. Feeling slightly nervous when you are called upon to deliver a speech is natural, but you just need to relax yourself. This entails taking a deep breath out for 10 counts. The next is always face your audience. In delivering your speech, always look at and speak to your audience. However, as a beginner, you are advised not to look directly and steadily into the eyes of your audience. Establish eye contact with your audience and try to discover sympathetic listener who will help you to feedback for your audience. The next is speak distinctly. In your speech delivery, there is no reason to be unduly slow or nervously fast. Always remember that you primarily aim to communicate to your audience. If the audience fails to understand you, you have failed. The last is keep your purpose. In keep your purpose, show an interest in what you are saying and say it with some conviction. Always remember that you have short times important and you want to share with others and do it with some enthusiasm.
Okay, next. Speaking anxiety. When students find themselves in situation where they become the focus of attention as they have to address to the audience, they experience emotion like fear and anxiety, leading to become nervous. This phenomenon is called public speaking anxiety. Public speaking anxiety is a dilemma faced by the populace, especially students in particular. Public speaking anxiety is one of the most common difficulties that students face in their academic career, and it is part of a problem that faces them in building their professional career opportunity. Wait, uh, career, like, come wait, difficult for academic part from academic. As well, there are some causes for public speaking anxiety. The students who have experience in public speaking got anxious that made them embarrassed if they were speaking in front of the class. They were worried if they will make a mistake or be judged unattractive. They also got upset if they talk about other looking at them or being the center of attention. Such beliefs can affect their self-esteem and lead them to feel worry in classroom. The student who performance they tended to be anxious and terrified to speak in front of other, and many of them were worried to speak in front of the class because of their lack of confidence. Uh, Strategies to overcome speaking anxiety. First, relaxation. Lack of confidence is one of the factors is caused anxiety. Student felt anxiety because he thought that his classmates are better than him. Student thought he was not better than his classmate. That led him to anxiety to overcome this problem. The technique of relaxation will help the student boost his confidence before the presentation began. Moreover, relaxation training was effective in reducing anxiety in any kind participant, male or female, young or old, or not by physical or psychological disorder. And second, rehearsal. Lack of preparation was another factor of the med student got anxious. He got anxious because he could not do import to speak. He was not good at English and means he needs a preparation first or practice at before the day of the speech. Help the student to overcome his anxiety. Is fifth is a good presentation by rehearsing. He tried to refine the presentation, the language, and the tone he will use, as well and the fine points of delivery. Third, using note card. Fear of making mistake also another factor that causes student get anxious. Student fear of making mistake in speaking English has been a common issue, especially in an EFL context. It was clearly stated that students got anxious when they were speaking in front of the class and they did a mistake, like slip tongue, wrong pronunciation, uh, and got nothing to say. Student was afraid of making mistake because he didn't want to get laughed by other student. He felt uncomfortable mostly when he made mistake. The classroom environment. Oh my god! Wait, where student notice his mistake. Further, the strategy to overcome his anxiety about fear of making mistake. They can use note card as a strategy to overcome their anxiety about making mistake in their speech. Using note card was effective to minimize the failure such as mind blank or when student forget the main point of his speech. And the last, gesture. Head being the Head being the center of attention was the next factor of caused student anxiety. When student performed his speech and speaking in front of the class, he felt anxious and uncomfortable because all the students look focused at him. He felt inferior because he didn't want to have negative evaluation from the other student. The best solution to overcome student anxiety about afraid of being center of attention was gesture. When they was speaking in front of the class, for example, moving hand gave him free gesture and freedom to express what is on his mind. He could feel relaxed, enjoy the speech, and avoid the tremble he got. Hands movement and gesture was become an important rule in this part. It was kind of distracting the attention from other, so he moved his hand as possible as he could. You know,
Okay, thank you for all speaker. Now it's time for me to conclude the materials. Okay, the conclusion is the ability to speak before a group of people is a valuable asset as well as an important talent. Like an actor or an actress on stage, a public speaker carries his audience along or disappoint both himself and the audience. Public speaking and speech delivery is not at all commerce affair. The skill and strategies needed to deliver a speech are needed to be acquired by everyone irrespective of the person's field of endeavor. It is often said that there is nothing more important to one's education than knowing how to express oneself. Public speaking is easy if the public speakers allow it to be. In any case, there are few pointers that one needs to know which make public and speech presentation less difficult. Above all, the public speaker must know his audience truthfully in terms of their needs, attitude, background, interests, and etc. In conclusion, public speaking may linguistically, psychologically, and culturally present difficult challenges for many EFL learners. In addition to having to speak well in English, they are expected to speak in front of an audience successfully. It is even more it is even more daunting when the performance is being assessed by their teachers. This demand may inherently contradict student traditional values such as balance, relationship, responsibility, avoidance, and fear of public shame. Because of these challenges, EFL learners need to be in a learning environment which is safe and support them to focus on learning rather than merely on testing. Facilitating learner learning help them to develop themselves as learners and the skill necessary to be successful public speakers. Through independent learning plans and activities, student reflection and peer-teacher and self-assessment, learners acknowledge becoming more independent, responsible, and better learners. They also admit become more confident and better public speaker after taking the public speaking course. Overall, the implementation of multiple learning strategies has empowered student public speaking skills. They were able to overcome and make good use of their traditional cultural value that might otherwise have impaired them from developing their public speaking skills. Based on the discussion, anxiety is clearly an issue in language learning and has a debilitating effect on speaking English for students. There are various factors that contribute to anxiety, such as lack of confidence, lack of preparation, fear of making mistakes, and head being the center of attention. Then some effective strategies to overcome the anxiety was found. It was found that there are some strategies used in overcoming his speaking anxiety in public speaking class such as rehearsal, reflection, visualization, gestures, and using note cards. This, the strategies gave significant effect to student performance during their speech and students will feel comfortable to speak in front of the class. Public speaking will continue to be an unsettling experience for some students. Experts have suggested several reasons for fearing public speaking. Adequate preparation and practice can alleviate most of them. Okay, it is all about our material today. Maybe enough here. Thank you for your attention and sorry for all our mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam.
wabarakatuh.